Hi, everyone. We are so excited to hang out with you and talk about the entire year,
2024.
2024.
Hit on
And
2025.
Yep.
We're looking forward to 2025. There we go. In real estate.
Awesome. All right. Well, we wanted to talk just quickly about 2024. This was a industry shaking year. There was a lot of changes that happened to the industry of real estate as a whole. Not a ton for me and Jen because we were already utilizing those best business practices to begin with. So our clients didn't feel some major shift, but it was also a really great year. We actually had a phenomenal year. We did over 8 million in revenue this year in transactions. So that was fantastic. 17 plus Zillow and Google and Facebook reviews are on our webpage. So thank you to our people.
Yeah, super thanks.
And that's why we have that note of just gratitude, right? I mean, we do this for all of you, and our passion is taking care of you and walking you through the home buying and selling process. So we're always just so grateful when we get those wonderful reviews.
Yeah. And I will comment, I know 2024 was overall a down year for real estate and sales, and a lot of people felt that. We were really fortunate that we really didn't. We had a really strong year, and it's because of you all. So thank you so much for that. So,
and maybe because we send 600 plus appreciation cards throughout the year.
We try to keep in touch. We do try to keep in touch.
You're
That's
like,
the
oh
goal.
no, another thing from Brian Dunn. But we hope you enjoyed that type of stuff. So, all right, here we go. We are just going to launch into the information that we want to give you every year. You are used to getting these recaps from us. So I went to NAR, so that's our National Association of Realtors convention in November, which was in Boston. And with my role here at Berkshire, one of the cool things is I also get to bring that information back to our clients.
Yeah.
So I love to attend economic presentations, whether they're through NAR and our national economist at NAR, Lawrence Oon, or things happening on a local level. At the Econ Club here, I am always attending anything econ related, so I can always have my pulse on the market, what's happening and where we're going. Okay, interest rates. So that's what you really want to know about, right? And I get it. We were actually talking about that just personally, but we understand why it's so hard to get sellers to sell right now, right? Because a lot of you are sitting on anywhere from a 2.5 to 3.5 interest rate. And if you went to sell and then buy, you're, in the high sixes. So we understand why inventory is low. I do think that we are going to continue to see interest rates in the sixes for the foreseeable future. You'll see some fluctuation happening within the sixes over the next year, even maybe that low sevens, maybe even the high fives, but really within that 6 range. And even though the Fed is continuing to do cuts, just keep in mind mortgage rates have some tie to Fed rates, but they're not correlated, right? So there are a couple things that would bring the actual mortgage interest rates down. One, if construction got really stimulated and ramped up, we just don't have the supply. Two, if the job market, if we were able to actually bring more people into the labor force, right? So the job market has been really, really strong, but in regards to the labor force, we still aren't back to where we were pre-COVID. There are a lot of people that got out of the actual labor force in COVID and they're not fully back. And then the other thing that actually is more tied to interest rates is actually our national debt. So we have a very high national debt. It's gone up considerably over the last several years. And because of that, the mortgage rates aren't going to continue to fall. Now, you might have questions about why the United States dollar is still so strong then against other foreign dollars. I know I'm going off in the weeds, Jen's giving me that look of like, no one cares about that.
It's okay.
Like, wrap it up. Our US dollar, so the
She
other
loves
country,
this. She loves this. It's obvious.
other really strong countries across the world are also having really high national debt. So that's what keeps our US dollar strong against them as well. All right, so let's talk about actual existing home sales, right? So we talk about everything in the economy for the most part is related to supply and demand, right? And when it comes to the housing market, The supply is going to be actual physical new construction or existing sales.
Mhm.
So 2024, we just did not see existing sales. And that's due to those high interest rates where people have been holding on to their properties because they know that if they go to buy, sell, even though they have equity and they'll likely sell for much higher than what they purchased the property out, those interest rates, if they need to borrow, are much higher still as well. Now, part of the supply issue is that we have a demand issue. We have 70 million more people than we had in 1995 in our country.
That's crazy.
Isn't that
That
crazy?
is crazy.
And it's interesting too, because we'll talk about this in a little bit, but our generations, well, Jen and I did our roles. We had enough babies to supply the market, but in general, the boomers themselves didn't have the same number of children. So that brings in the population situation. All right, we do hopefully see, we're starting to see an uptick in this year of some existing sales coming up onto the market. Supply is still relatively low, but the reason why we see new or existing sales coming up is because life is just happening. And at
I love
some
this
point, I
slide.
know.
Yeah, I love this slide because it just highlights like life continues and people have to move.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing is the people that truly are in a position, whether it's marriages, divorces, new babies, they're busting out of their house, or you know,
Life
so many
changes.
just life changes, they're moving, what have you. It's prompting that move.
Yep. So people have to move, right? So now we're actually starting to see some inventory. Now, this is something that Jen and I talk a lot about because it's so important and because we care about all of you, right? But this is just one of those American dream pieces. It's just wealth comparison between owners and renters in this country is staggering. The average American in this country that owns a home has $450,000 of wealth compared to renters that have 10. And so really think about right now, I know the interest rates feel high. They're still actually not that high on a, life term. Think about what you're throwing away in regards to your rent, right? And you might not be able to afford exactly what you want now, right? But you're still, if you're gonna buy a house now with what you can afford, you're gonna end up in a better position because our equity just continues to grow and grow, right? So we have that conversation around like marry the house, date the rate. So find the house. And then there are different things that we can help you with financially with some of our partners to hopefully ease up on the interest rate over time. And this is an interesting graph. This is something actually that Jen found, which I thought just told the story really, really well. So if in 1971, you waited to buy a house until interest rates came down, you were waiting, what was it?
I thought it was like, it
Like
was
20 years.
Yeah, it was like a ridiculous amount.
Like, look at this in 1979,
I know.
right? I mean, or 71, it goes through the roof. And we know that there was historically really, really high inflation in the 1980s. The highest they ever actually saw it was something like 18.73%.
Wow.
So if you put that in perspective, your 6 is relatively low, right? So I know a lot of investors that do housing investing, and I will tell you that they loan all of their money. They take loans out until it reaches the 8s. After that, they'll start funneling in their own cash, right? Especially since the stock market has been very strong over the last couple of years. If you're taking out a loan for somewhere in the 5s or 6s, you're likely still making more in the market on the cash that you have sitting there. So it makes sense. All right, some larger national stats in regards to like people on the move in the United States. I just wanted to circle here in the blue. This is Grand Rapids. So we are seeing people move into the Grand Rapids market. And part of the cool thing for you, as an average across the state of Michigan, your home appreciation since pre-COVID has gone up over 40%.
This is a great graph.
It's great.
I mean, and some of these numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
But 44.1% overall in Michigan is impressive.
They're not building more real estate, right? So if you're really even thinking about for our clients out there that already have their home, but maybe you had a good year financially and you're wondering where to invest, highly recommend real estate, and we can help you with that as well. All right, some demographic changes. An interesting thing, one of the things that we continue to hear is the market is going to crash like it did in 2008. And I say, no, it's not. In fact, we did have a soft landing, which is what most economists would say over the last year or so. But one of the reasons why we're not going to see a housing crash is 35% of homeowners in this country don't have a mortgage. And those that do, it's relatively low.
Yeah.
So most people nationwide, this is a larger stat, right? They owe very little on their home and they have significant equity. And we just are not seeing delinquency rates with mortgages over time, right? So here you can see in 2008, well, it's really starting to tick up in 2007. This is where you see delinquency on mortgages because people owed more on their house than their home is worth. That is like the complete opposite of the situation now. All right, also we're seeing first-time home buyers hit all-time low. Part of that is the competitiveness of the market and also just the rising cost of housing and the debt that a lot of first-time home buyers carry with them. So this is something that Jen and I feel really strongly about, is that first-time home and how important it is for the whole health of your life moving forward, really. So we help first-time home buyers all the time. We've got lots of great strategies for you. If you've even considered buying a house the first time, like, come to us. We promise we'll take really good care of you.
Absolutely.
And one of the things we're starting to see from our clients are these multi-generational houses. So we have a few first-time home buyers right now that are actually looking at properties that are for them as a first time, but also for their parents that are starting to age out of where they are now that need a little bit more support. So this is an interesting trend. Also, congrats to single women.
Woo woo.
So cool. It's really interesting to see, but since 1985, single women have been growing in regards to the household composition. So single women out there are buying first-time houses. Like,
Yeah.
they are on it.
We've
from
got a
the
lot of clients that are single women and
It's-
they are rocking it, which is awesome.
Yeah, or also just unmarried couples, right? So the way that we go about life has changed a little bit over the decades, and we're seeing more and more people actually buy a house before they're married. So they're trying to get those stepping stones in place a little bit earlier. All right, and we talked about this before, but another reason why we're having some inventory issues and
We just don't have the
We
population.
just don't have the
Yeah.
babies.
Just don't have.
Yep. So our population has grown, but it's starting to decline. And this is actually something that's happening worldwide. So anyone that's ever concerned about China, keep in mind, they have a much harder population issue over there. So this does contribute to the data and what we're seeing in the housing market. All right, I just want to touch about Michigan as a whole here, because I think this is what you want to hear about and get a little bit more local and stats, right? So our home prices continue to appreciate in Michigan. As long as you are buying something that, you know, Jen and I recommend that think is a smart decision, right? I mean, not all property is a smart decision, but in general, your equity should be growing month over month, year over year right now. Now, the median sales price in Michigan is at about 264. So that's still a really, I would call, compared to other similar sized markets, that is a relatively low price point in regards to
And that's
getting
all of
there and
Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
of Michigan.
Here in
Well,
Grand Rapids, yeah, we'll get to it, but it's
Yep.
closer to about 360 to
Mhm.
380. Yep. All right. Market leaders in Michigan. So the top 10 metros in Michigan with the fastest growing sales price. We have a few of them in here that are close to our West Michigan area, Allendale and Muskegon. And then the most competitive markets, Jenison.
Jenison.
I know,
Yeah.
that is
Jenison.
crazy.
I was like, whoo.
I know, lots of cool stuff happening in Grand Rapids. We continue to make all of those lists. All right, let's talk about seasonality really quick. Every year, the homes that sell above list price are happening April through July. This is why every year Jen and I are doing everything we can to talk to you about buying anywhere between November and like January, February, and then the dead heat of summer. This
Mhm.
is where we find that you're able to actually get some houses and not be
It's not
offering these
crazy
amounts.
competitive.
Yep.
Not crazy competitive.
And the seasonality is pretty much the same year over year. So
Yeah.
that's why I like showing that.
Mhm.
All right, I went to the Right Places Economic Update. They do this every year. The Right Place has been very responsible for bringing a lot of growth into Grand Rapids, a lot of diversity into the economy and industry, and they keep an eye on all of the residential and commercial market trends as well. We're continuing to see more and more total jobs in Greater Grand Rapids. A lot of this is tech-based. That's definitely one of like the largest growing industries here in Grand Rapids, which is absolutely fantastic. And we're also continuing to see some new housing permits. This is not growing at the rate that we need it to in West Michigan. So we are still really far
Yeah.
behind when it comes to construction. And you can see here that it hasn't been like exponentially growing over time. So this is something I hope that we do see in the next
Sure.
couple of years. All right, in regards to population growth and job growth, we are actually considered a top 15 across the country in regards to MSAs. So this is very, very cool. So Grand Rapids had a population increase of 3% over the year and also a job growth of 3%. So the population that we have coming is growing. And the coolest thing for me coming out of Econ Club was just really personal. When I graduated from Aquinas in 2006, me and all of my friends, like we had to leave for the most part because there just wasn't industry here to support us. We went to Chicago and Texas and Minneapolis and Detroit and we got out, right? But now, because of the right place and so much of the education and the industry that they've brought into this market, we're retaining about 20, the stat was we're retaining on a high level. I think it was like 80% of all of the kiddos that graduate in the larger market area are staying here now. And in fact, our general population change has been almost 20% among kids with a bachelor's degree between 25 and 34. I can't call them kids because they are
They're adults,
significantly
but-
younger than.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, high level trends according to Realtor.com. This year, expect to see about 4% sales growth in residential housing and a price growth of about 7.7%. I am telling you, we are begging you, if you have considered buying, do it now. Contact us. We've been able to get some great deals for our clients in the last couple of months here.
That's true.
All right, overall market, Kent County, just again, the median sales price being around 330,000. We'll include all of these slides so you guys have access to them as well. We still have 1.4 months of inventory on hand, which means that it is still a seller's market. So this is really, really important stuff. All right. Overall, I'm sorry, that was Kent County overall. Grand Rapids specifically, you're at about 306 for the median sold price. And again, it continues to be a seller's market. There's just not a ton of inventory out there, and the houses are on the market about 8 days.
And any of this information, if you want specific, like hyper localized for your particular city, just reach out. We're happy to get it for you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Jen, you get the fun
Okay,
stuff.
I kind of, you
Yeah.
give so much good and the detail information, and you're right, I do get some of the fun stuff. So, what do we do when we get the house? You come in and you make it your own, right? So decorating trends for this upcoming year, kind of fun. Statement rugs, which in my opinion are always fun,
this was so
you know, I mean, does that really ever go out of style? But I will point out the unexpected color. And this is something that literally I had clients close on a property Friday, and I had said, what was one of the first things you're going to do? And they were taking their white cabinets, and I believe this was the color they
Like
were
a
going
cab,
for.
like a cabby
Yeah,
purple.
like more of those jewel tones and the rich, deep, saturated colors. They are so incredibly popular right now and almost timeless in many ways, depending upon how you present it. Layered patterns, contrast. Another one, outdoor cooking spaces. I have clients that are looking in new construction, they're looking to build, and one of the things that's important to them is creating this outdoor space that's going to allow them to like expand not just the physical footprint of their home, but actually expand it so they can spend more time outside. And that's really becoming a big trend, which is very, very cool. And I don't know about you, but I love any kind of wood and natural elements brought into the home. So that's been really popular. And then one of the other things, there we go. Thank you. So new construction, we just wanted to touch on this. Mariah commented about it in the previous slides. There are new developments being brought into the West Michigan area all the time. We're seeing a lot of development south of town, Byron Center, Hudsonville, that area. It's where the land is, right? Like, so it's where the land is. And so a lot of the builders are going in and plotting out these great communities.
You heard of the Lakeshore too.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot in that area as well. If you are thinking that new construction is of interest to you, please reach out. We have done a lot of research on all the different communities that are in the area, as well as custom builders. If you actually own a piece of property that you want to bring in a one-off builder,
Mhm.
so we can help
Lots of
you.
options.
Tons of options, and it is exciting stuff. So please reach out, and we will be happy to help create that dream. I feel like building's a big dream for people a lot of times.
It can
too.
be really fun. It's also a lot of detail. So
It's a
we
lot
always
of
say,
work and a lot of
if you're
detail.
building with a significant other, make sure that your relationship is lock solid walking into this process.
That's very
because
true.
It's a lot,
So
but
exactly. Thank you so much for our listening to our overall market report of follow-up for 2024 and what we're anticipating in 2025. We think it's going to be a good year
I
ahead.
think it's going to be a good year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think things are just stabilizing a little bit. We
That'll be great.
shall see.
Exactly.
Well, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy New Year.